Integrity. Without integrity, life does not work. That's what we're going to take a look at today. What does that mean, that without integrity, your life does not work? Well, let's start by taking a look at Oxford Dictionary's definition. Oxford says integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. All great words, right? But what do they mean? We as individuals say we practice with integrity. I've got great integrity. Companies and corporations will have it, declaring it on their websites and in their mission statements. But how do we know they're doing it? How do you measure integrity? Integrity at its core is a way of being. It shapes and defines who you are as an individual, and it shapes and defines corporations. It's a condition of workability. It's your word. Your word creates your universe. It creates what you want to have in your life. So there are three components to integrity. Doing what you said you would do by when you said you would do it. Doing it the way you know it should be done and how others can count on you to do it. And when you break your agreement or you're out of integrity, acknowledging it and making a new agreement. So let's break these things down. The first one is doing what you said you would do by when you said you would do it. This has a time frame to it. It has a by when are you going to do it, right? For instance, I told myself I'd get up at 7 o'clock this morning, and when the alarm went off, I decided to stay in bed and roll over and go back to sleep. That's out of integrity. I didn't acknowledge it. I just rolled over and went back to sleep. We make agreements with people constantly and ourselves. So we make agreements with the bank. We make agreements with the PUD. We make agreements with ourselves in relationships, with companies, with other employees, with our employers. We are constantly making agreements all day, every day, and it all has a by when attached to it. The most important agreement that we make are the ones that we make with ourselves. One of the things we're not aware of with integrity is that it's composed of making agreements, and we don't even acknowledge when we're making an agreement. So it's critical that you get that your life is made up of making agreements. That's just the way we are. We have by whens, and that's how our life runs. If we didn't, you'd stay in bed all day, right? When you are making agreements, you're creating a condition of workability for your life. So that's why when you're out of integrity and you've broken an agreement, you have a condition of unworkability. Now, being out of integrity leaves us with kind of different feelings. You know, you can feel like you're depressed, you're frustrated. You might be saying things like, my life just doesn't work. And some days that's just for a day. Sometimes it can be for a whole year, right? My life just isn't working. Consider, that's just the drama of you being out of integrity. You're making up a story on why you're feeling like things aren't working because you don't know that you broke an agreement, making you be out of integrity. There isn't any right or wrong here. There's just you broke an agreement. So now what's your next responsible step? Now, before we get into that next responsible step, let's take a look at how you can play with some of the things that you've made agreements with in your life and how you can play with having integrity being present so you're aware of it, right? Take a look at your checking account. Is it balanced? Are all your bills paid on time? Did you keep the agreement to take your kids to the movie? Is your car clean? Start with your glove box. Is it organized so you can find your insurance papers and your title when you get pulled over for that ticket, right? Those are simple things to take a look at and start playing around with getting them back into integrity. Get your checking book balanced. Get your bills paid on time. Just do what you said you would do by when you said you would do it. The next piece that we take a look at is doing it the way you know it should be done and the way others can count on you to do it. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because you're defining how it should be done. Sometimes we're the toughest on ourselves on this piece because, if you're very aggressive and are insistent on life being perfect, you can be pretty tough on yourself here. Or you can be very untruthful about yourself, with yourself about it. You know when you cut corners. You're very much aware of when you cut corners. So for instance, let's say you wanted to get an A in a topic on a subject and you don't do it. Or you have completed a project, you turned it in late though, and you did just good enough. Now, the interesting thing about these two is that you more than likely have enrolled others into agreeing with you that all of that is okay. But you know that you didn't complete it the way you know it should be done. And that's where it's important to be in integrity with yourself and with others. Be honest with yourself and do it the way you know it should be done and the way that others can count on you to do it. Complete work, guys, that's all it is. Now, when you break an agreement, how do you get back in integrity? There's 3 components to getting yourself back into integrity. One is acknowledge that you broke the agreement to yourself, acknowledge it to the other person or whoever else is involved, acknowledge the impact. No, actually it's 4 steps, and then you make a new agreement. So first and most importantly, remember, there's no right or wrong here. You just broke an agreement. You're going to acknowledge it, acknowledge the impact, make a new agreement. That's all there is to it. Now, when you're acknowledging that you've broken an agreement, you don't need to tell the story on why you broke it, just that you broke it. We don't need to hear the story why. They probably know the story why. You definitely know the story why. But that's all just drama and it's kind of a smokescreen. Be very direct. Just say, I broke my agreement with you. Here's the impact it had on you. You can count on me from this point forward. Here's our new agreement. It's that simple. Now, here's one of the things I can guarantee you. You follow these steps, put integrity back in your life, put a condition of workability back in your life, you're going to have a life that is full of power, freedom, and full self-expression that you've never experienced before. Guaranteed, you follow these steps. So, contact me at the phone number listed below or the email listed below, and let's talk about getting integrity back into your life and creating a life of power, freedom, and full self-expression.